Imagine this: Ethiopia, the land of King Najashi, the birthplace of the Nile's lifeblood, and home to 40 million Muslims, still locked outside the Arab League doors. Meanwhile, smaller neighbors like Djibouti, Somalia, and even Eritrea have seats inside. Historic oversight or deliberate betrayal? Way good, fan! Welcome to Semenenya Spotlight, your front row seat to the Horn of Africa's most explosive sagas. Tonight, we step straight into the storm swirling over the Red Sea, the Nile waters, and Middle Eastern power politics. The Arab League is suddenly talking about building its own NATO-style defense pact, a move that could shift the balance of power across the region. But here's the twist: Ethiopia, with its ancient ties to Islam and its undeniable stake in the Nile, is still excluded. The question is no longer just why, but whether Ethiopia should crash the Arab League party once and for all.
Ethiopia's Arab League exclusion. Ethiopia's connection to the Arab world is ancient and undeniable. In the 7th century, King Najashi of Aksum granted asylum to the first Muslim refugees fleeing persecution in Mecca. That gesture cemented a historic bond with Islam that still resonates today. More than 1/3 of Ethiopia's 120 million people, around 40 million citizens, are Muslim. Cities like Harar, with its 82 mosques, stand as living museums of Ethiopia's Islamic heritage. In fact, Islam took root in Ethiopia before it spread to Medina. So here's the question: why is a country with such profound religious, historical, and geographic ties still excluded from the Arab League? Why are Ethiopia's neighbors, Somalia, Djibouti, Sudan, and even Eritrea as an observer, inside the tent while Ethiopia remains outside? Ambassador Dina Mufti, a senior Ethiopian diplomat, has put it bluntly: most of our neighbors are members of this organization. There is no reason for us to remain outside it. If we join, we can also benefit from its opportunities. His statement echoes a growing feeling in Addis Ababa that the time has come to reconsider membership. Should Ethiopia crash Arab League party? The case for joining seems strong. Ethiopia's trade routes depend almost entirely on Djibouti's ports, and Arab League states dominate those maritime corridors. The Gulf states are Ethiopia's major trading partners and investors, pouring money into agriculture, real estate, and infrastructure. If Addis were to gain a seat at the Arab League table, it could not only unlock more financial support, but also gain a political platform to defend its interests, especially on the one issue that overshadows everything: the Nile. The Nile River, the very lifeblood of Egypt, begins in Ethiopia's highlands. 85% of the water that reaches Cairo originates from the Blue Nile. Yet under colonial-era treaties from 1929 and 1959, Ethiopia was denied any meaningful share of the river. Egypt and Sudan were allocated nearly all of it, while upstream nations were told to stay silent. For decades, that is exactly how it was, but the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the GERD, changed the balance forever. The GERD is Africa's largest hydropower project, a symbol of Ethiopian ambition and sovereignty. To Ethiopians, it is a dream of electricity, industry, and self-reliance. To Egypt, it is an existential threat. The Arab League has consistently backed Egypt in this dispute, passing resolutions accusing Ethiopia of endangering Arab water security. To Addis Ababa, the League often sounds less like a neutral body and more like Cairo's megaphone. So here lies the dilemma. If Ethiopia joins the Arab League, could it finally argue its case from inside, shaping debates and pushing for compromise? Or would membership only tighten Egypt's grip, forcing Addis into concessions it has long resisted? Let's weigh the balance. The potential benefits are clear. Membership would give Ethiopia access to Arab financial institutions and development funds. Gulf sovereign wealth funds could boost Ethiopia's agriculture and infrastructure. Politically, a seat in the League might allow Addis to counter Egypt's dominance and lobby for recognition of its rights as an upstream nation. Culturally, membership would acknowledge the shared heritage of Ethiopia's Muslim population and strengthen ties with Arab peoples across the Red Sea. But the risks are just as real. Ethiopia might be pressured to take sides in Middle Eastern conflicts, aligning itself with Arab League positions on Palestine, Yemen, or Iran, issues where Addis traditionally prefers neutrality. The cost of joining could also include cultural friction. Critics warn of Arabization, the idea that Ethiopia's unique identity could be diluted under the weight of Arab political influence. And perhaps most dangerously, if the League ever did create a NATO-style defense pact, Ethiopia could find itself isolated, encircled by neighbors who now have a collective military alliance, while Addis stands outside, alone. Some argue that Ethiopia's exclusion is no accident. For decades, Egyptian diplomacy worked to keep Addis out, fearing that an empowered Ethiopia inside the League could upset the balance over the Nile. Others say Ethiopia itself never pushed hard enough, content to lead within the African Union rather than seek a seat in an Arab club. But times are changing. Ethiopia's membership in BRICS Plus shows its desire to diversify alliances. Its naval revival project underscores how much it cares about the Red Sea. And its Muslim citizens increasingly ask why their nation should be absent from an organization that represents the broader Arab-Islamic world. So what would it take? The Arab League's charter technically reserves membership for independent Arab states. That clause would need to be stretched, or Ethiopia would need to be accepted as a special case, like Eritrea's observer status. Both options are politically possible if enough member states, especially Gulf powers, see benefit in Ethiopia's inclusion. For Ethiopia, the stakes are enormous. Membership could mean access to money, markets, and political cover, but it could also mean compromises on the Nile, diplomatic strings attached to Gulf aid, and deeper entanglement in Middle Eastern conflicts. And that brings us back to the bigger question. Is the Arab League really growing teeth? Or is it still the same institution, useful as a platform, but limited in its power? If it does evolve into something sharper, Ethiopia must decide quickly, join now and influence its direction, or stay out and risk becoming the target of its bite. So, Fan, the question hangs in the air. If Ethiopia joins the Arab League, will it gain a shield to defend its future, or a leash that tightens around its sovereignty? History tells us one thing. Ethiopia has always defied the odds, from Aksum to GERD. But the next chapter is still unwritten. This has been Semonenya Spotlight, your front row seat to the Horn of Africa's most explosive stories. If you found tonight's deep dive thought-provoking, don't just watch, join the conversation. Hit that like button to spread the word, share this story to spark debate, and subscribe so you never miss the truth behind the headlines. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and never stop questioning the narratives that shape our world.